Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we have received thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform this high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision for our country, fair as it might be, country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people, and a love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day for the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, votes and proceedings. 28th July, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. 19. 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Page 24. Page 25. Page 26. Page 27. Page 28. Page 29. 30. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Speaker, sorry to bring you back to page 16, and in particular, the reading there, the President in nominating persons specified in paragraph A and G of subsection 1 shall have regard to gender balance. I'm not sure gender balance was what it was. The majority leader proved upon the chairman's request. It was a woman, two of whom, at least two women. When you say gender, I'm not sure it's conveying what the thought and the decision of this house was. Gender can be both. Gender is male and female, so you haven't said anything. So it should reflect women. We're particular about giving a role for women when the president is appointing it. So don't say gender, but you can clarify from the majority leader and the chairman. But I'm very convinced that this was not the wording. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Civil office to cross-check. 31, 32, and 33. The votes and proceedings of 28th July 2020, subject to the cross-checking aforementioned, submitted as true record of proceedings. Honorable members, official report. 17th April. Any corrections, please? In the absence of any corrections, the official report of 17th April is served as true record of proceedings. 30th April. Any corrections, please? In the absence of any corrections, the official report of 30th April is hereby admitted as true record of proceedings. Monday, 20th July. Monday, 20th July. In the absence of any corrections, the official report is hereby admitted as true record of the proceedings. Item listed 3 questions. Minister for Special Development. Thank you. Minister for Special Development. Well, the day is still young.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Special Development Initiatives is not available, and the Business Committee, in meeting this morning, has rescheduled the question to next week, Friday.
Thank you very much.
The same goes for the other questions for standing in the name of the Minister for Communications. Those ones are to be rescheduled for Wednesday next week.
Yes, Honorable.
Honorable Speaker, the Chief Whip didn't tell us exactly where the Minister for Special Initiative is. If you can expatiate,
Honorable members, order, please.
if you can expatiate where the Minister for Special Initiative is.
Honorable members, I particularly don't enjoy RRRs. It's unparliamentary. an honorable member cannot raise questions on availability of ministers, then what are we here for? Let our solidarity not overextend. As it stands, it's obvious that we cannot go on any questions. But I will say, let ministers be reminded and let these arrangements be firmed so that parliamentary business can also go on. At the commencement of public business, item listed 5, presentation of papers. Honorable Minister for Finance. Which papers are ready for presentation? Yes. Honorable members, please, can we take any of the items under 5?
The Speaker. I can do.
The minister excused with past that.
Yeah. The Speaker, we can take 5. 5A.
5A, Finance Minister.
Yes. And Speaker, if you will indulge me, I'll do the presentation on behalf of the minister. He's on his way here though. I sent just the vein of the documents. I could lay the document on behalf of the minister.
Yes, so who presents? Thank you.
Suspension of the fiscal responsibility rules for the 2020 financial year.
The paper is duly presented and is referred to the Finance Committee for a report. Me, Chairman Committee on Education.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Whip is a member of the committee. If you could lay the document on behalf of the committee.
Very well.
Reports of the Committee on Education on the Complementary Education Agency Bill 2019.
The report is duly submitted and is for distribution to honorable members. C. Chairman, Works and Housing.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Anthony Fa is a member of the committee. Could lay the document on behalf of the committee.
Very well.
Report of the Committee on Works and Housing on the Design-Build Agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Works and Housing, and Messrs. QGMI Construcciones y Infraestructura Globales of Madrid, Spain, for an amount of 90 million euros for the design and construction of drainage and ancillary sewage system in Accra, rehabilitation of the Nima drain from Kaukudi to Odo River Basin.
The report is duly presented and is for distribution to honorable members. Item listed 6. Minister Energy.
Speaker, I would want to lay the document on behalf of the Minister for Energy. That is item 6.
To establish the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation to promote and develop a petroleum and petrochemicals hub and to provide for related matters.
The bill is read for the first time and is referred to the Committee on Mines and Energy and report. Item 7. Motion.
Speaker, the Minister has sounded that is on his way. Yes, so I've had some discussion with the minority that will stand it down for the time being and do the motion listed as item 8. Speaker, we can take the motions because the Minister is on his way here. We could even stand the resolutions down. When he comes, he himself will have to do the resolutions. We'll let the Finance Committee move the motions in respect of 8, 10, and I guess 12 and 14, whilst we wait for the Minister. But he will do only the motions until the Minister comes in to do the resolutions.
So which item now? Item 8. Motion. Chairman of the Committee, Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I will take the motions listed as 8 and 10 together. The report to be presented captures both. Eight and 10.
Very well, please.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motions listed as item 8 on page 4 and 10 on page 5 be taken now. And Mr. Speaker, in so doing, I will present the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, the report before us is on 1. Ghana's subscription of 3,883 additional prorated shares allocated under the share tranche rules of the 6th General Capital Increase of the African Development Group, AFDB, at the cost of 38,830,000 units of account, and a further subscription of 182,414 new shares under the 7th General Capital Increase, again of the African Development Bank Group, at the cost of 1,824,140,000 units of account. Mr. Speaker, on 7th May 2010, the Board of Governors of the African Development Bank approved a 200% increase of the bank's capital resources under the 6th General Capital Increase, bringing its authorized capital from 23.97 billion units of account to 67.69 billion units of account. Mr. Speaker, 6% of these newly created General Capital Increase 6 shares were to be paid over a 12-year period, whilst the remaining 94% represented callable shares. Mr. Speaker, of the total 4,374,000 new shares under the 6th General Capital Increase, Ghana was allocated a total of 99,529 shares, representing a shareholding of 2.275% in the bank group. The shares were made up of 5,972 paid up and 93,559 callable shares, amounting to 59.72 million units of accounts and 995.2 million units of accounts, respectively. Mr. Speaker, these amounts are to be settled in 12 equal annual installments from 2012 to 2023. Ghana has since paid up to the 9th installment. Mr. Speaker, the new shares created have been allocated to regional member countries and non-regional member countries of the bank group in such a way that when fully subscribed, the regional member countries shall hold 60%, whilst the non-regional countries shall hold 40% of the total capital stock of the bank in conformity with Article 5.4 of the agreement. The bank in November 2019 further allocated Ghana a total of 182,440 new shares under the 7th general capital, equivalent to 2.179% shareholding. Mr. Speaker, observations. The committee was informed that government expects the new shares to have positive impact on the current shareholding position of the bank. The committee further observed that Ghana's subscription new shares will enable the country to increase her nominal shareholding in the bank, while also maintaining her voting powers therein. In terms of the constituency, Ghana will increase her voting rights to 70.58% of voting powers in the constituency. The enhanced share subscription will also give Ghana the necessary visibility and stronger voice, leverage adequate resources than other members in the same constituency. Again, the share subscription under the 7th general increase will signal Ghana's commitment to the future of the African Development Bank Group to create a shared prosperity for the people of Africa. Mr. Speaker, the committee has thoroughly scrutinized the referral and finds that the general capital increases 6 and 7 are in accordance with Article 5 of the agreement establishing the African Development. Ghana's subscription to the new shares in the bank would also provide a enhanced opportunity to obtain financing for eligible projects from the bank. The committee therefore respectfully recommends to the House to adopt this report and approve by resolution the 2 general capital increases in the amounts of 1,830,000 units of account and 1,824,140,000 units of accounts in accordance with the Constitution of the Republic. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, right, Honourable Speaker. I rise to second the motion that's been moved. Mr. Speaker, the concluding part of the report indicates that the general capital is in accordance with Article 5 of the agreement establishing the African Development Bank Group. Mr. Speaker, we are already a member of this group. Have earlier contributed to the 2 subscriptions that were raised, and this is a new one. And I believe that with effort, the opportunities that will come to our benefit would enhance the enjoyment of new credit lines and additional resources to enhance our development also of the country. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I second the motion for the approval of the purchase of the shares.
And present the report. Oh, it has been presented. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
I rise to speak in support of the motion and to agree in particular with the concerns of the chairman that Ghana needs to take its pride of place in our contribution to the future of African Development Bank Group, create shared prosperity for the people of Africa. And Mr. Speaker, we are aware that just recently the African Development Bank approved a loan facility of $600 million to support the Ghana Cocoa Board. I understand that some disbursement of it has been done and some of it is still outstanding. My only comment is that our Minister for Finance, maybe at the level of the Foreign Ministry and probably even the Office of the President, will have to monitor closely the worrying developments about the future of the African Development Bank, with the U.S. government taking a particular worrying position regarding its chief executive office. Therefore, we should pay particular attention to it and not just dismiss the issues that are being raised by the U.S. government and to subject it to some thorough scrutiny and examination and see a manner that we will work together in order not to compromise the integrity of the institution. With this, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Thank you very much. Majority, any contribution? Yes, Honorable Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members may remember that one of the first presidents of the African Development Bank was a Ghanaian, and he led the bank through a lot of good things. Mr. Speaker, just yesterday, an independent international panel, the current president, innocent of all the charges that he had been accused of. So that is a good sign that the bank will continue to maintain its integrity. Mr. Speaker, furthermore, 2 days ago, aside from the loan that the bank had given us for COVID, they've also given us a $69 million grant, also for COVID. So clearly, the ADB is supporting Ghana, and the increase in the shares gives us a very powerful position also to mobilize as we go through COVID-19, sorry. It is increasingly becoming obvious that Africa will have to depend on itself. And the ADB is going to be a very key instrument in supporting that. This thing about Ghana Beyond Aid is fully supported by the ADB. So I urge members to vote for the motion. I thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Those against, say no. The motions 8 and 10 are accordingly adopted. Resolution 9 and 11, Honorable Finance Minister.
Mr. Speaker, upon further consultations with the minority leader, we could allow the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation to stand in for the Minister of Finance to carry the resolutions.
Very well. Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolutions numbered item number 9 and 11 on pages 4 and 5 be moved. I thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second the resolution.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The resolutions 9 and 11 are adopted accordingly. Thank you. Can we take item 12?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I will take item number 12.
Item listed 12. Chairman, Finance Committee.
Mr. Speaker, Once again, I would move the motions listed as 12 on page 6 and 14 on pages 7 and 8 together.
Yes, Honorable Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the motions listed as 12 and 14 on today's order paper be taken down. Mr. Speaker, in so doing, I'll present the committee's report. Mr. Speaker, what is before the loan facility agreement between the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and Standard Chartered Bank, London, for 191,375,307 euros and 1 cent, and 2,384,695 euros to finance the design and construction of drainage and ancillary sewage system in Accra. That's the Nima drain from Cow to the Odo River Basin. Mr. Speaker, the object of this project is to mitigate perennial flooding, improve environmental and sanitary conditions in order to alleviate the serious damage to property and health risks in the Nima with a subterranean drainage system rather than the self-defeating open drains. It's to also enhance access throughout the Nima Mamubi area for pedestrians and help the community to create public spaces that serve the diverse needs of all residents. Mr. Speaker, the project covers works to be undertaken on the already Nima drain in the Accra metropolitan area. The scope of works includes rehabilitation and enhancement of the Nima drain from road to the Odo River. So, Speaker, this is a major intervention which will be integrated with the city of Accra through a holistic resolution of pressure and problem zones with the generation of city space elements. So, Speaker, there will also be backfilling of the side banks of Phase 1, that's between Obasanjo Highway and Highway. Further construction of a rectangular closed section between Obasanjo Highway and Mamubi Highway. And then also the construction of a rectangular closed section on the stretch between Mamubi Highway and Kojo Thompson Avenue, which comprises the necessary works for the foundation of the enhanced area over the new closed drain, and modification of the output of the Nima drain into the Odo River, rotating it to a 45-degree angle output. Mr. Speaker, the terms and conditions of the two facilities are given in Table 1 on page 5 of the report. Observations. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that Mamubi, a suburb has been experiencing perennial flooding, which usually leads to loss of human life, damage to property, and loss of livestock. It was explained to the committee that the main causes of the flooding were the Nima drain and poor waste management. The Nima drain is poorly maintained, and poor management habits has adversely affected the surrounding communities. The drain is blocked with filth, leading to stagnation of water. This makes the people around the drainage system susceptible to infections from mosquitoes and other insects, as well as numerous air and waterborne diseases. Mr. Speaker, the committee noted that a debt sustainability analysis was conducted for this project and is part of the overall assessment which informs government's medium-term debt strategy. The project cost is 90 million euros, and the cost details are given in table on pages 6 and 7 of the report. So, Speaker, the project duration is expected to be 24 months from the date of commencement. Comparing the Garrett project with the drainage system project. Mr. Speaker, the committee recalled that Parliament through the credit facility to finance the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project, Garrett. The project is aimed at improving flood risk management and risk management in the Odo River Basin of the Greater Accra region and improve access to basic infrastructure and services in the targeted communities within the basin. On whether the current project and Garrett were not one and the same, it was explained that the project seeks to construct, among others, water retention points at strategic places to impound water upstream, thereby reducing flooding downstream. Under this project, however, a subterranean drainage system will be constructed to deal with the drainage problem. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that when complete, the project will go a long way to address the perennial flooding that occurs in Accra. It will also help save lives and property. In view of the above, the committee recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the term loan facilities, one of 91.3 million euros and two, 10.38 million euros, to finance the design and construction of drainage and ancillary sewage system in Accra, that is the Nima drain from Kaukudi to the Odo River Basin. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Yiri Chile.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I second the motion, and I think that given the background and the reasons for these loan agreements, I think it will save Ghana a lot of problems in terms of managing our sewage system within the Nima area. And you know that it's ritualistic. Every year you have cases of water washing and taking away property. But if incidents quite a bit, and I believe that if the contractors do this work diligently within the 24 months that has been indicated, it will save lives and property. On the basis of this, I second this motion and urge other members to vote for it too.
Honorable Dr. Okudoza.
Speaker, just to bring further to the amount being contracted and the contract value, you notice that the first two facilities amounting to 101 euros is the request. The contract value, however, is 90 million euros. The difference of 11 million euros is the EKF premium that is typical of such loans, so that people don't get worried that the loan amount is much bigger than the contract value. There's a premium that is built in there. With those few words, I support the motion.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak in favor of the motion and to urge colleagues to support it. This is a very major intervention that arguably will contribute to ameliorating the flooding situation in Accra, particularly in the deprived Nima Mamobi area. And Mr. Speaker, it has a link to Circle and other surrounding industrial areas of the Accra metropolitan area. But Mr. Speaker, whilst I agree that when you look at the committee's report, the total amount is 90 million euro. But whilst the chairman was speaking, he referred to what is in official documents, 91.3 million euro, apart from the 10 million which comes as the insurance premium on it. So 90 million, but chairman, you said 91.3. What explanation would you have for that? Then, Mr. Speaker, support it. I support it, but I'm raising my concerns. Two, when you come to page 7, Mr. Speaker, page 7, and for oversight purposes, next time we want the committee to give us clarity tomorrow. Urban facilities, 20 million euro, 20.4. So tomorrow, as a resident of Nima or Mamobi, I should know what urban facilities to expect. Are they schools? Are they clinics? Are they football parks? You just don't give us a whole still lump sum money of urban facilities. Next time, we should know that what urban facilities should the people of Nima and Mavubi expect arise of the execution of this project. Then, when you come to sidewalks, I see 1.191 million, and then ancillary works 2.5. What's the difference between auxiliary works, public lighting and bikeways and sidewalks? The bikeways and the sidewalks are about the same. I'm referring to page 6 and 7 of the committee's report. But we expect that concrete works will be more expensive, and then F 6.8 million, and respectively concrete works of 34.2 million. So, Mr. Speaker, generally, I support the motion. It will help reduce the flooding situation in Accra and make those places, particularly Nima, Mamobi, Kaukudi. I should recall that some work already started on the Kaukudi, Mamobi drainage between 2014 and 2015, which ended in 2016. But like they said, Mr. Speaker, as you drive through, even the traffic light, you would observe what the Minister for Monitoring, or is it the chairman who said it? They have to do the fill-in, because that was not done. Then finally, Mr. Speaker, the world have moved away from drains. I hope that the ministry and the committee will follow through the implementation of this project to ensure that we do not have those open drains. In that area, that appeared to be a very major risk in that particular area. As you drive through, just as I observed the boil from the president's house into that area, all the drains there are open, and all manner of debris are poured into it, which can pose serious health threat. With this comment, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion.
Thank you very much. Any further? Yeah. All those in favor? Yes. Honorable.
Yes.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to say a few things in support of this motion. Honorable Speaker, there has been a June and that when you want to do serious infrastructure, you raise the desktop of the nation. And because of this phobia, some serious infrastructure rollouts have not been undertaken. Honorable Speaker, when we neglect to do these infrastructure projects, the cost is enormous. Honorable Speaker, there is this habit of saying that let's do this Celtic. Every year, serious amounts of monies are released for us to do this Celtic and concrete lining and what I would call palliatives. They do not solve the problems. So this is the first major intervention that the government has seen the necessity to do subterranean drains. Honorable Speaker, let me stress subterranean drains as the way to go, because by some funny arrangement, we have formed the habit of tipping our filth and garbage in the open. A lot of education has gone on that the drains are not supposed to be the reservoirs of filth. That when what you hate in your house, don't tip it in the drains, because it will choke the drain. And then when we have rainfall patterns, there's a spillover, which we call the flooding. And the floods will always go and affect lives, livelihood. So subterranean drains are expensive. You will not be able to see what is happening underground. But that is what is happening in all the civilized world. Every field is underground. It's not seen. So this intervention by the government and trying to fix the Nima drain, we are going to see for the first time a serious drain with a lot of sewage underground, and it will be for neat environment. If you pay regard to some of the advantages that we have, by reason of the fact that we don't have an open drain and there's a subterranean drain, we have green areas. We can have bike and walkways. We can have upgraded football pitch for the people of Nima and Mamobi to enjoy. We have shade areas and rest areas and play areas because the field is underground and the land can be put to a lot of use. Honorable Speaker, the manager was a bit concerned about what he wanted to call urban facilities, which was in the neighborhood of 20 million odd United States dollars. As a matter of fact, your August Committee of Works and Housing will come with a commercial agreement. The full scope will be explained as to what these entail. So, Honorable Speaker, with these few words, I will encourage every government to be serious with such infrastructure rollouts, because ultimately it is cheaper to have the best than to have what I call a makeshift kind of arrangement, ad hoc arrangements. Because all that we've been doing, we just touch the surface, silt, and pay for it. This silt and pay for it. We should destroy this vicious cycle. And subterranean drains of this nature is the way to go. I'm grateful to you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. At the conclusion of the debate, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Motions, resolutions 13 and 15. Honorable Dr. Akutose.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that resolution listed item number 10 and 15 be moved now. I so move.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second the resolutions ably moved by the Minister for Monetary Evaluation.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, the motion for the adoption of the resolutions 13 and 15 have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motions are accordingly adopted. Yes. Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, item number 16.
Item listed 16. Yes, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House adopts the report of the Finance Committee on the term loan facility agreement between the Government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance, and Deutsche Bank AG Frankfurt as arranger and original lender, and TMF Global Services UK Limited as facility agent for an amount of 147,505,734 euros for the reconstruction of the Bichim Techimentia Akumada 40.4 kilometers and the Takwa Aguna and Kwanta road projects. The Speaker, in so doing, will present the committee's report. The Speaker, the Bichim Techimentia Akumada road, a stretch of 40.4 kilometers, runs in south-north direction from Bichim in the Bono region through Jumo and Techimentia, all in the same region, to Akumadan in the Ashanti region. The road connects the Bono region to Akumadan in the Ashanti region, joining the main Kumasi-Techiman road at Akumadan through mainly agricultural towns and villages. The proposed 40.4 kilometer section to be reconstructed is in advanced state of deterioration. The Speaker, also, the Aguna Kwanta road, a stretch of 66 kilometers, also runs in south-north direction from Aguna Kwanta to Takwa through Bonsa and Insuta, all of which have and mineral prospects. The road forms part of the N1 link between Ghana and neighbors Cote d'Ivoire and other ECOWAS countries. The road also connects to main roads in the seaport of Takoradi. Mr. Speaker, the objectives of the project is to improve travel time and reduce waiting times within the relevant corridors, with consequent reduction in poverty and enhanced development of the country. The project is specifically aimed at improving traffic circulation by enhancing the capacity of the road network and removing bottlenecks, as well as to improve the movement of people, goods, and services. Mr. Speaker, the terms and conditions of the loan are given in paragraph 4 on pages 3 and 4. Mr. Speaker, once again, it's 147.5 million euros. The project cost is 145 million euros. There's an upfront fee, which is 1% flat of the facility and finance, an agency fee of 191,700 euros, legal fees 139,034 euros, a hassle of 10 years, and an interest rate of 7.5% fixed. The Speaker, the work shall consist of providing all survey and investigation, designing of the road alignment and geometry, pavements, drainage and culverts, site investigation and tests, road marking and signage, as well as all associated roadworks in line with the Ghana Highway Authority Pavement Design Manual and the Republic of Ghana Ministry of Roads and Highways Standard Specification for road and bridge works. Mr. Speaker, a breakdown of the estimated cost of the components of the two projects are given in tables 1 and 2 on pages 4 and 5. The cost components are given, once again, when the commercial contract is presented, the full details will be stated. Mr. Speaker, as to how long the project would take to complete, the committee was informed that the Bichim Techimentia Akumadam project is expected to be completed within a period of 24 months from commencement, whilst the Agunam Kwantakakwa stretch will be completed within 36 months from the date of commencement. The Speaker, the committee finds that the will be immensely important towards improving vehicular movement in the project areas and to contribute to the enhancement of the road network of the country as a whole. The committee therefore respectfully recommends to the House to adopt this report and approve by resolution the term loan facility agreement between the government and one Deutsche Bank AG and two TMF Global Services for an amount of 147,505,734 euros for the reconstruction of 1, the Bichim Techimentia Akumadan stretch, and 2, the Takwa Agunam Kanta Road project, in accordance with the Constitution of the land. Respected Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Yes, Honorable Member.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman of the Finance Committee, and in view of that, make few comments on this report. Mr. Speaker, time we see a government provide financing for road projects is good news for our country. Indeed, I've always said road construction is capital intensive and has to be done continuously to be able to derive the full strength of value for money. Mr. Speaker, are two different roads but lumped together as one project. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to know that in April 2016, the Techimentia Road was awarded on contract by Ghana Cocoa Board. It was part of the projects that the President, in one of his States of the Nation addresses, said here that he is in support with Cocoa Board suspending all those road projects because there was suspicion that they might have been awarded wrongly, and there was an audit of those projects. The Techimentia Road was part of it. Mr. Speaker, it also interests you to note that as of December 2016, 25% of this work was carried out. But because it was suspended.
Honorable Chairman.
No.
The stretch under consideration is the Techimentia. I heard a member say Techimentia.
Honorable, please.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my chairman, my very good friend, for correcting me. Let me pronounce it. Let me try it. Bechem Techimentia Akumadan. Is that okay?
Honorable, let's go by the essence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to know that by ending of December 2016, 25% of this project was carried out. The completion time was October 2017. Mr. Speaker, the only reason we are here taking loan 50 for that stretch would cost us about 50 million euros. In 2016, that same was awarded for 26,544,262 cedis and 73 pesos, Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, perhaps in 2016 is different from today. So I will not be able to determine whether it is too expensive. The point I'm making is that, Mr. Speaker, some ongoing projects in this parliament. You've completed all of them to the benefit of members of parliament. Mr. Speaker, it is important that when projects are started that cost this country, before you suspend work on those projects, you convince yourself that you want to make it better, not worse. Mr. Speaker, when a project starts in April 2016, you stop it, and today, Mr. Speaker, the MPP government is unable to prove to anybody in this country that the Cocoa Road audit that they carried out, they found a misconduct on the part of any public official. It is important for this House to demand from the MPP government for them to publish the report of the audit on the Cocoa Road. We are here, and I'm saying that we are here approving a loan for a project that was already in progress.
Dr. Kutose.
I thought we were debating the terms of a loan facility. My colleague has not said anything about the terms of the loan facility. And he's talking about the MPP government. Is the law now or isn't it? Go against the interest rate. That's what the debate is about. When you come to the Rules Committee and you want to discuss what you are, it's the terms. So I suggest that you defer your arguments to the Rules Committee. Then you can start discussing those issues. But I want to follow you on the terms of this law.
Honorable Speaker, I thank
please conclude.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, to just my colleague, this report doesn't only talk about the terms of the loan. It also talks about the description of the work. General items, page 4. General items, ground investigation. Did the Finance Committee do anything about ground investigation? But you put it here because you want to tie the scope of the financing. So it's appropriate, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thought it is a good thing for government to try to get resources to complete this road. But, Mr. Speaker, I make the significant point that this road in April 2016, the same stretch of road, at least the Techmencha and Akomadan Road, was awarded on contract by Cocoa Board for 26,544,000 Ghana cedis. Today, for that stretch, we are taking a loan of 50 million euros. And I'm saying that it is possible the scope in 2016 may be different from the scope today. But I believe, that this report, Mr. Speaker, should have been able to tell us that when 25% of the work was done and some money is paid to the contractor already, who is no longer the contractor, we have made progress in terms of value for money by paying 50 million euros for this. Mr. Speaker, I have every reason to support this agreement. I encourage colleagues to support it. But in the future, I would encourage every government, before you suspend any project on a different financing trajectory and put it on another one, convince the people of this that your decision is making it better, not worse. Mr. Speaker, with this word, I encourage colleagues to support this motion to approve this loan so that dust in this our country will be added to the better roads that we have. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion. The Bechim-Techimentia Road, which is 40 kilometers, to Bechim-Techimentia-Akumadan Road, which is about 40 kilometers. It's a road that connects two economically important roads. The Kumasi-Sunyani Brekum-Doma-Hinkro Road, Kumasi-Techiman, Tamale-Bolnatanga Road. So it's a very important link. The existing contract that I heard the rankings talking about was a project which was between Bechim and Techimentia. It was not up to Akumadan. It is about 26 million I was talking about because it was a poor design. That road has been constructed by some of the agencies. And because they were not designed properly, because they were not well constructed, the road had to fail in no time. I have walked that whole distance when I was doing my engineering studies. From Bechim through Techimentia to Akumadan. I walked that whole distance within 3 days doing the engineering works. And it's the existing contract that he was talking of did not address the basic challenges that we had on that project. So he cannot compare that is 26 million with the current amount that we have in the facility that we have on that project. So Mr. Speaker, this nation spends money constructing roads, and in no time they fail because they are not properly designed. We are tired of such situations. Now we want to construct a road between Bechim, Techimentia, and Akumadan, a road that will last for the nation, so that the post-construction costs will be very, very minimal. And this is what we need. The nation has money to be spending every other time in constructing our roads. So, Mr. Speaker, when you move on that road, there are a lot of low-lying sections. Sections that the subsoil are highly compressible. You just go and put gravel on it within a year, not even after the end of the first liability, the road fails. This time we are going to all those swampy sections, have a very strong foundation for the road, so it will last for the nation. And this is the reason why, Mr. Speaker, maybe such an amount is being spent on the Bechim-Techimentia Akumadan project. Mr. Speaker, it's a very good project. The people living on that road are predominantly farmers. They need to access market centers. We have market at Techiman, Sunyani, and Kumasi. These farmers need to work so that they can send their products to the market. Because of the poor nature of the road, they are not able to go to the market. So, Mr. Speaker, it's an important route, and I believe that the government thinking of Bechim-Techimentia Akumadan is going to be very useful for all the nation. Mr. Speaker, the Takwa-Aguna Kwanta Takwa is asphalt concrete, but the road has failed. It has failed because there were some excessive axle loads on it. We were hauling lights from Awaso, we were hauling manganese from Suta on that road. So those excessive axle loads have to be addressed. Now, anyone who has used Aguna Junction Takwa will know that that road runs through sections where underground water level is very high. And therefore, there are many sections that the parent soil, which I call the subsoil, is highly compressible, and we need to treat it. So this time around, what we are going to do is to ensure that you remove all those compressible materials, you fill it with boulders to strengthen the road foundation and use the capillary action of underground water. Mr. Speaker, by capillary action, it just means the rising of underground water to attack material used to build our roads. So we are going to build a very solid foundation for the road and also increase the strength of the pavement. It's going to be asphaltic concrete as usual, so that the heavy vehicles that use the road will no more destroy the road as it has been done to this one that was done some years ago. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a very important route, Haguna Junction, Haguna Junction, Tapa. It connects the rich areas of the western and the western north region. So it is not a road that should be done by Cocoa Roads. It is not that Cocoa Board can finance. And therefore, if indeed we need to have the level of service that we need for our roads, then it should be properly factored, and we need to get such facilities for them. So we have to achieve value for money. You can go and do whatever you want in no time, it gets spoiled. It doesn't take us anywhere. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge colleagues to support this motion and approve of this facility, because these are two economic viable roads that is going to help the nation in our drive to improve our development and also our economy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the motion and to remind my colleagues opposite that government have constructed roads in every other part of the country, whether Techimantia or Akumadan or Begro. Every government arising out of tax resources, not personal resources, construct roads. What the Honorable Kwame Governor sought to do, and my colleague should accept it, he stands strongly by it. He said it was awarded in 2016. Bichim, Techimantia, Akumadan. Are you not living? You are in the July or November of the tenure of President Akufo-Addo. This administration is 4 months. So it's the same thing, 2020. So if you said and a contract was awarded in 2016, it's the same period. So why contradict it? It's the same period. But let's come to the thrust of it. What he said was Bichim Techimantia Akumadan awarded 2017, but significant. He said the scope may not be the same. He could have rushed always down to say that why is the value 50 million euro, why it was 26 million 16. He didn't do that because he understands. So that's why he said, appreciate that the scope may not be the same. We have all come here sometimes. Figures. When you go and reduce scope of work and the figures reduce, then you come and say the NDC underestimated the figures. That is what he's saying we should correct. Anytime you are talking for value for money, let's be mindful of work. If you give somebody, for instance, we're told that $22 million for a runway was expensive. We have heard runways which may cost $40 million. We would have to interrogate the scope of work to understand. So what the Honorable Kwame said was just that I cannot be critical of it because I do not know the scope of work. So tomorrow, when you list the NDC projects and you are critiquing, be mindful and compare its scope of work to the scope of work you are bringing. But, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion anytime I'm traveling by road, on that road. Akumadan, you can ask the woman there. I buy my sweet potato and then some fruits, mango and others there. So to improve the road in that, I support it. And even traveling, we've all experienced it, at least from the constituency. No. I said Akumadan on that road, Kumasi Techima road. That's what I said. I travel Kumasi. It's the Honorable Minister who said that the road links. Yes, and I say when I travel on that the route, I stop somewhere called Akumadan. I always see the Deputy Minister for Local Government signboard by it.
And in conclusion,
so unless it's a different Akumadan, but I stop at Akumadan every day for the record. So, Mr. Speaker, I support it. We are raising a loan, and when they bring the contract, we'll look at matters relating to value for money. Duration of the project, we are told 4 months. Part of the road infrastructure in the country is that maintenance. You see the road constructed, after 3-6 months, it begins deteriorating. So the Ghana Highway Authority must improve its maintenance surveillance team across the country. And I agree, when you do resurfacing of the road, it has to be properly monitored. As for the benefits, as has been indicated, it will improve general traffic and help farmers in that particular area. In principle, we support it. But when we do compare projects, we should compare the scope to the values applied. I thank you.
all those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Resolution.
I beg to move that the resolution listed as item number 17 on pages 9 and 10 of the order paper be moved now.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Oh,
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
thank you. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is duly adopted. Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we can now go back to deal with item number 7. Item 7.
Item number 7. Motion. Honorable Minority Leader. Leaders have 30 minutes each. Maximum. $105. Maximum.
Speaker, I should thank you for the opportunity to build to the motion on the mid-year review of the budget statement and the policy of the government of Ghana and supplementary estimates for the 2020 financial year. And in doing, Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Finance appeared before this House, and he did what is constitutionally and legally appropriate to respect the provisions of the Constitution in Article 1798 and the Public Financial Management Act, Section 20. But, Mr. Speaker, what is expected of the minister? And just to start, he appeared to me more of reading a revised version of a party manifesto than media review of the budget as is required of him, under the Public Financial Management Act, under Section 8. And Mr. Speaker, in particular, let me refer you to page 81, paragraph 412 of the minister's statement, and he said, Mr. Speaker, we estimate that it will require around 100 billion spending and investment inflows to fully fund the initiative under the CARES program for 2021-2023. Mr. Speaker, 2021-2023, the minister probably will not know even his political future. And therefore, that is a manifesto promise. Even 100 billion, more than his overall budget of 2020 of 98 billion. And he is now promising that 100 billion over 2021 to 2023. So that can only qualify as a manifesto pledge. Mr. Speaker, our expectation and my expectation of the Minister of Finance was that in the time of COVID, he will shift economic policy management to public health emergency management, because containing the COVID, we are still concerned about increases in infections. Businesses are affected, the private sector is affected. We would have thought that the minister would have shifted his economic policy management to public health emergency management and make appropriate allocations of their health and safety. Mr. Speaker, this same Minister for Finance made it to pay arrears of 2.2 billion to countries. Arrears clearance in Appendix 2A on page 105 was only 730 billion. So it means the contractors, whether contractors for Ministry of Works and Housing, contractors for the various ministries, are in distress. Because of delayed payments by government and delayed releases from government and delayed releases from the Ministry of Finance, even to the ministry. So that will mean that projects will get stopped, some abandoned, but to the contractor, the road contractor, that means costs of servicing loans they have borrowed and business. Mr. Speaker, the minister indicates again, and with your indulgence, I quote paragraph 444, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, the revision made the 2020 fiscal framework have resulted an increase in the 2020 appropriation from 98 billion, but these words are significant. He has increased it to 109.9. Yet, Mr. Speaker, as he asked for supplementary estimates of 109.9 billion, but the minister reports only expenditure to the tune of 97 billion, we will ask and demand answers. The difference of 12 billion, what does it account for? What does it account for? We unreported budget expenditure. Though the minister requests for supplementary appropriation of 11.8 billion, he also is talking of total expenditure of 11.8 billion, when he has only accounted for 53 billion. So he either came unprepared, because unprepared. Between the 11 billion and 53 billion, in his expenditure profile, what your budget is not accounted for it. We will demand answers to it. If you come to Parliament, this is the House of Parliament, you must address every single detail, particularly in a COVID era. In paragraph 129, the minister indicates that the Ghana still remains high risk of debt distress. And our worry, you in opposition, you bastardize the NDC for borrowing. Today, your government want to be praised and hailed for borrowing. It is only this minister and the MPP administration which will take pride in borrowing. You either fund a government through taxes or revenue, or through public-private partnership, or through borrowing. You inherited an economy of 120 billion in debt. 3.5 years. 1.20 auditor generals, there was variation between the 120 and 2 billion. But today, it's 256 billion. You have added 130 billion to Ghana's debt stock, and making Ghana, as we've been named 8 African countries, at the risk of debt distress. That is why you are spending a whopping 21 billion annually on servicing debt, interest payment, when you need only 2 or 3 billion to fund a junior high school program. Therefore, to whom much is given, much is to be expected. You have borrowed, and 3.5 years, you have 130 billion to Ghana's debt stock. Imagine a Ghana without the Legon Hospital, medical school under COVID. Imagine a Ghana without the Ghana Hospital. The NDC and President Mahama proud of our infrastructure record. But for those hospitals, how would you have contained almighty COVID? Even with those hospitals, we are still struggling as a country. And you need to account for those resources. Mr. Speaker, may I also respectively now refer you to another quote. I just saw the majority leader lay a paper. And Mr. Speaker, paragraph 444, very significant. How I wish the Minister for Finance himself is here. Request for approval of supplementary estimates, what I refer to as the variation in the figures, 109.9 billion. You are asking for 11.8 billion, when your expenditure plan only accounts for 53 billion. We need explanations for that. But Mr. Speaker, respectively, let me refer you to paragraph 438. Unthinkable and unimaginable. Instead of doing what is needful under the Public Financial Management Act, the minister is coming forth, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, from the development thus far, it is clear that the fiscal rules, deficit not exceeding 5% of GDP, and a positive primary balance enshrined in the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, Act 982, are neither feasible nor attainable. When? Is it only for 2020, or is it only for 2020 or 2019, 2018, 2017? Were we within the regime of fiscal deficit? What he himself said in the law was that if he exceeds the fiscal deficit of 5%, he will go home, and that he should be sanctioned. So to evade the sanction, he has come that Parliament should suspend the law. We will not suspend the law. He will undergo the sanctions spelled out in the Fiscal Responsibility Act. He defined it for himself. He defined it for himself under the Fiscal Responsibility Act. It provided room. Mr. Speaker, he himself accepted fiscal responsibility. And Mr. Speaker, we kept arguing that the best in terms of fiscal management and fiscal legislation was what the NDC under President Mahama bequeathed, the Public Financial Management Act. Now today you are coming for suspension of fiscal rules. Which fiscal rules? In any case, Parliament, do you suspend your laws? Do you suspend laws? You come and lay a paper for suspension of Fiscal Responsibility Act. If you are coming for a review of the law, come for it. You want amendment of the law, come for it. Because the law was definite. The law was definite. The law was definite. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a government which says that one district, one factory. Then you have a Minister of Trade come and report 191. A Minister of Finance comes back and report 156. Who should we believe? And where? In which regions of Ghana? Tell me the 1D, 1F in the Upper East, in any district, whether Bongo or Talensi or Nabdam. Don't concentrate them in the Greater Accra region and think that you are honoring your pledge. You said 1D, 1F, one district, one factory. Don't come and concentrate them in the Greater Accra region and go putting 1F signboards on already existing industry factory and praise yourself. Good initiative, worthy initiative to industrialize at the rural level. You take advantage of it. But you don't come when a Minister for Trade tells us that it is 191, 0 in Upper West region, Upper East region 0 or 1, Northern region, you know where there is. Even in your constituency, I'm here to cite 1. Mr. Speaker, so this government, there's a budget, pass a Fiscal Responsibility Act,
and want to use it to judge a predecessor government, including Buzia and President Kufuor. You don't set your own marking scheme and reverse back to mark others who existed before you. Mr. Speaker, so when the pastor says that he has breached his own 5% rules, he is a candidate, a potential candidate for sanctions under the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And we will accordingly sanction him in accordance with the law. That is what this House should do. And Mr. Speaker, one we got is Act 982, and I read of censure. Parliament may, in accordance with Article 82 of the Constitution, pass a vote of censure on the minister where the minister breaches Section 2 by more than 1 percentage point. The deficit is more than that. He is a probable candidate for censure and not a candidate for suspension of our rules. We will not suspend rules because of the convenience of the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta. That is not acceptable. And Mr. Speaker, COVID, you are not the only country hit back. As I said, some countries will do up to their might, others will do according to what they can do. But Mr. Speaker, this government is audacious. It has buried its head so deep in the sand that it has failed to recognize the decadent music that it set itself loudly when they took office. Reference to IMF, World Bank, Moody, and others in terms of the rating. But Mr. Speaker, our concern is whether the numbers and figures they are sharing with the Parliament of Ghana is the same numbers and figures they are sharing with the IMF. Mr. Speaker, they have raised $500 million. Standard Chartered Bank, they never came to Parliament for its approval. And should we add this year, the Republic of Ghana Global Medium-Term Note Program, $500 million. And then they raised $500 million a day before they issued the bond, which is different than the bond tenor. So, Mr. Speaker, when we say we are concerned about the numbers, we are legitimately concerned. When he says they have paid electricity debt, they have paid the legacy debt, thanks to President Mahama and the NDC, ESLA is what has generated the money for use to service and to deal with those outstanding within the energy sector. It was the intention of John Mahama then as president to use it to give a better and a good balance sheet for the energy sector companies. So when you boast that you have paid $2.1 billion, where is it coming from? Credit the NDC. And sometimes we did that you don't see any merit. Gets only 74 million, and fiscal infrastructure and service delivery in education gets 800. That disproportionate allocation of those resources and the use of oil revenue for purposes of consumption leaves much to be desired. Then, Mr. Speaker, my tree is not good, so the Sumpahino will borrow me the word. When the minister in paragraph 412 talks about Obatampa, he as well could have said Obatamboshe, that I'm the promises, not Boshe. That's why I said Sumpahini should help me with those words about Boshe. Then, Mr. Speaker, we heard about Agenda 111. The president himself said Agenda 88. So who should we believe? And this is not the first time. Yes, they did well commissioning the Eastern Regional Hospital, but to the credit of the NDC, Central Regional Hospital, Brown-Harper Regional Hospital, Upper West Regional Hospital, Upper Regional Hospital were all infrastructure undertaken by the previous NDC government. Mr. Speaker, I cannot conclude by reckoning that we are indeed in extraordinary times. With COVID, whittle away the gains that have been made in the development of the economy, but to suspend our rules is just like saying that when we're not meeting the convergence criteria of ECOWAS, we should have run back to Parliament and say that because of volatility in the world, suspend the fiscal rules. That does not measure
the accounting on those issues. So when you say execution, it's only a mark of grand deception. You don't have any 100 billion to invest in the Ghanaian people. So when you say Obatampa 100 billion, 2021-23, we do not know who will be leading the country. We are optimistic that John Dramani Mahama would have taken over and review some of these decisions that you have taken. So the Bank of Ghana can and should relate to many of those issues. We are told about the fiscal cost of the pandemic, and we are told of shortfalls in revenue. There are problems with the Unipan system at the port. Importers and exporters are complaining about it. The exit of GCNet. We need to up those processes of trade facilitation in order that our importers and exporters can have some pride. Look at this government. Smartly, they are very quiet on the exchange rate regime because it has some COVID. It now has some COVID symptoms of temperature. When you inherit an extra 4.2 Ghana cedis to $1 is now 5.8. You must be worried. But Mr. Speaker, what is significant is that in paragraph 245, the minister talks about establishment of a development bank. We do not support it. Strengthen the Agricultural Development Bank, strengthen the NIB, give them liquidity, give them additional resources, and redirect their focus and meet. But to create a new bank, to serve what purpose? To serve what purpose? When the NIB, when the banking sector crisis, today, we are told that government has spent 21 billion Ghana cedis on banking sector crisis. The banks were only pleading for 400 to 500 million in order to save them to have liquidity. You deny them that, and you want to praise yourself for spending 21 cedis when depositors don't know their future and they are being assured to wait till 2025. That is not acceptable. They are entitled to those deposits, and that must be done. Paragraph 243, Ghana Amalgamated Trust. What has happened? The minister came here to Parliament, got some support in respect of it, and not much have been heard about it. And as I've indicated, paragraph 236 going, he reports that 21 was spent on the banking sector cleanup. And in conclusion, government must find resources to pay deposit timely for them to be entitled to their resources. So, Mr. Speaker, this budget, mid-year review budget, only comes to me as a manifesto pledge and promise, and reflected the same COVID problem that the minister stated. The economy is having temperature because debt is rising from 120 billion to 256 billion. Importers and exporters are coughing because the exchange regime is very high, and the Ghanaian private sector and individuals are sneezing with hardship. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Minority Leader. Order. The Speaker will take the chair. Honorable Majority Leader, your turn. You have 30 minutes maximum. Closing 135. Order.
Speaker, the minority leader said I should borrow him the translation of some words that the minister rendered in G. Well, if he had said that I should lend him the translation, I would have done so. I can't borrow him.
You are only taking back your own.
I thank you for this opportunity to conclude the debate on the motions approves the mid-year review of the budget statement and economic policy of the government of Ghana. The sum of 11,896,477,566 Ghana cedis as supplementary estimate of the 2020 financial year, which motion was moved on Thursday, the 23rd of July, 2020 by the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Ken Oforiatta, and seconded on Monday, the 27th of July, 2020 by the Honorable Member for New Javan South, Dr. Masile Yeboah, the Chairman of the Finance Committee. The Speaker, on November 13th, 2019, when the Minister of Finance appeared to Parliament to present the 2020 budget statement and economic policy of government, he juxtaposed the realities of December 31st, 2016, after 8 years of the NDC governance and less than 3 years of the MPP administration. Mr. Speaker, he put the 2020 budget in perspective in order that all of us understand how far we have come. To quote the Finance Minister, and I refer to page 1, paragraph 5, the economy that the MPP inherited, quote, was in very suffocating under a misweight of debts, arrears, very cost of living, high youth unemployment, and the worst growth rate since 1994. That is worst growth rate for 26 years. The Finance Minister had to figures to demonstrate to all of us who listened that at the time President Dankwa Akufo's administration kick-started, these were the facts. The Speaker, in agriculture was declining, and 2016 was 2.9%. In 2017, it rose to 6.1, 2018, 4.8, 4.6, 19, and 5.1 in 2020 projected. The Speaker, that meant that the average rate of growth in agriculture under Akufo-Addo's regime was 5.2%. President Mills registered President Mahama 2.9%. The Speaker, crops grew at 2.2%. Cocoa grew at 0.7%. The Speaker, crops grew under Akufo-Addo's regime at 7.2% from 2.2 in 2017, 5.8 in 2018, 5.3 in 2019, 5.4 projected for 2020. That registers an average of 5.9 as compared to the shambolic growth rate of 2.2 in agriculture registered under President John Mahama. Grew at negative 7.0%. In 2017, the Speaker, it regenerated to 9.2%, 3.7% in 2018, 5.7.4 in 2019, 1.3 in 2020, averaging 4.9%. Growth in industry was abysmal in 2016. In 2017, the Speaker, it went up to 15.7%, 10.6% in 2018, 6.4 in 2019, and 8.6, averaging 10% growth rate from the 4.3 under President John Dramani Mahama. In Korea, 0.2% under President Mahama, 30.8% in 2017, 23.3% in 2018, 12.7 in 2019, 10.1 in 2020 projected. And Mr. Speaker, that then would give us an average growth rate in industry at 10.3, mining 0.2, and the average is 0.2. Oil and gas negative 0.6% under President Mahama. It grew 80.3% in just 1 year, 2017. 3.6 in 2018, 15.1 and 7.3 in 2020 projected, giving an average growth rate in oil and gas at 26.6%. The Speaker, from a negative 15.6%. Water and sewage, negative 11.8%. under President John Dramani Mahama to 6.1% in 2017. Yes, it reached growth rates in 2018 and 2019, respectively of negative 3.6 in 2018 and negative 4.4 in 2019. By 2020, it was projected to grow at 4.1. That would have meant that averagely it was at 0.5% from negative 11.8% under President John Dramani Mahama. Mr. Speaker, services grew under John Mahama at 2.8%. 3.3% it grew in 2017, 2.7 in 2018, 7.6 in 2019, and projected 5.8% in 2020 to average 4.8%. Under John Dramani Mahama, it was 2.8%. The Speaker, facts don't lie. Facts don't lie. Regardless of gender, facts don't lie. Mr. Speaker, the minister informed, and we know same to be true, that in 2016 interest rates were relatively high. The minister informed us, and we know same to be true, that in 2016 banking system was weak. The minister informed us, and we know same to be true, that in 2016 unemployment was rising. The minister, that business and households were working mainly to pay utility bills. Mr. Speaker, from the abysmal performance of the economy in 2016, in just 32 months in office, that is from January 2017 to 2019, the economy had witnessed a turnaround and was moving in the right direction. Economic growth rates hugely increased from 2.9% in 2014 to 2.2% in 2015. The West GDP growth rate in 2015. The West GDP growth rate in 36 years in this country. Mr. Speaker, 3.4 it grew into 2016, and that was also the West GDP growth rate in 22 years. The Speaker, from there, it grew to 8.1% in 2017, 6.3 in 2018, and 6.5 in 2019. The economy was targeted to grow at the outset of 2020. The Speaker, the average GDP growth rate under Akufo-Addo's regime is 7.0%, where average GDP growth rate under President Mahama is 3.9%. Who are best managers? I wouldn't say better managers. Who are the best managers of this economy? Mr. Speaker, inflation fell from 15.4% in December 2016, 15.4% in December 2016, to 7.6% in September 2019. That was unprecedented since 1992. 7.6% inflation. It was the best performance since 1992. Mr. Speaker, and let nobody say that John Mahama's government maintained single-digit inflation for 30 months. That is patently false. President Mahama never achieved 30 months single inflation. It occurred under President Metz when Dr. Dufour was in charge. So don't attribute it to John Mahama, because you go about on radio stations saying that the 30-month single-digit inflation occurred under him. It didn't. Mr. Speaker, the banking sector was on the rise again in 2019, mid-2019, after tax profits of 1.67 billion, or 36% growth in 2019. The 91-day Treasury bill rate fell steadily from 17% in December 2016 to 14.7%. The cost of borrowing had declined to allow business to expand, jobs to be created, and spending to rise again. Fiscal deficit was contained below 5% of GDP for 3 consecutive years since 2017. Indeed, as of 2019, the deficit was even 4.5%. Mr. Speaker, on the external front, deficit improved from 1.8 billion in 2016 to plus of 2.6 billion. The Speaker, from a deficit of 1.8 billion in 2016, registered a surplus of 2.6 billion in 2019. The Speaker, this trajectory is to all intents and purposes steady economic growth compared with the shambolic record of the NDC, and I refer to page 3, paragraph 15 of the 2020 budget. The Speaker, by 2020, 1.2 million Ghanaian students would have access to free senior high school education. The first batch, 362,000, are graduating this year. And that was a concept that the previous government said it was an impossibility. And they said that anything that is free is not good. Today they are promising that, well, we recognize that is good. When we can, we shall further improve it and expand it. Just 3 years ago, he said it was an impossibility, and anything that is free is not good. God bless the mouth that thing came from. Mr. Speaker, 1.2 million people have directly benefited from the planting for food and jobs. 97,373 graduates have had opportunity under NAPCO to prepare themselves for future jobs. 3,000.
Honorable Majority Leader, please. Somebody is on a point of order.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I think that this is the House of Records, and the Majority Leader just said that the former president said that what is free is not good. Mr. Speaker, it will be appropriate that he, the platform and the period, at what point our president said what is free is not good. I think he should furnish the House with the records. I think it is appropriate because we have no record of the former president saying that what is free is not good.
When you're on a point of order, you have to point out is misleading the House or misinforming the House. Unless you give positive evidence, then you're not on point of order. You're seeking information. So you cannot interrupt proceedings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I never even mentioned anything. If I was listening carefully to what I said, clearly he wasn't even listening to what I was saying. Mr. Speaker, 97,373 graduates have had opportunity under NAPCO to prepare themselves for future jobs. 3,000 citizens have been recruited under the forestry programs to help the reforestation of our 6.5 million hectares of forest cover, which have been decimated to less than 750,000 hectares within a span of about 60 years. Mr. Speaker, an additional 138,026 Ghanaians have recruited under various programs to support public sector delivery. 55,000 nurses who have completed their training but were left to rot at home have been recruited. Over 1,000 sanitary facilities were at various stages of completion at the beginning of the to address open defecation. 49,000 trainee nurses have been paid 468 million Ghana cedis. Equally, so have 48,000 trainee teachers had at the beginning of 2020 being paid 532 million Ghana cedis as allowances. The Speaker, support for industrial entrepreneurship. 181 companies at the beginning of 2020 had benefited from the 1G, 1F. 19,500 startup businesses had also received training support under the government entrepreneurship program. Businesses, incubation hubs had also been set up across the country to build the capacity of entrepreneurs. 20,000 students had, by the beginning of 2020, been under the Student Entrepreneurship Initiative, and 100 disabled women have been empowered to start their own businesses. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to the allocation of the seed equivalent of $1 million to agency, IPEP has delivered the following: 307 ambulances to each constituency and all regional and teaching hospitals. 200 dams have been completed and 500 additional dams were under construction at the beginning of 2020. 50 prefabricated grain warehouses have been constructed at the end of 2019 to reduce post-harvest losses. Mr. Speaker, clearly, the country was on the course for even achievements in 2020, predicated on expanded domestic revenue mobilization, business regulatory reforms, intensified drive for foreign direct investment, enhanced financial support to local enterprises, digitalization, accelerated infrastructure development, especially in roads, hospitals, educational facilities. And to speak, it is this demonstrable competence in the management of the economy resulted in Ghana consistently achieving at least 5-6 ECOWAS rationalized convergence criteria in the areas of 1, average inflation not exceeding 10%. The Speaker, gross international reserves exceeding 3 months, import cover, central bank financing of debt, the Speaker, not to exceed 10% of previous year's tax revenue. We have achieved that as well. Public debt to GDP to be less than 70%, also achieved. And the nominal exchange rate variation to be around 10%, also achieved. The Speaker, these out of the 6 rationalized criteria that we have achieved under the Akufo-Addo regime. The country stumbled in only one criterion in both 2018 and 2019. That was in the area of the budget deficit as a ratio of GDP. The target is less equal to 3%. Ghana registered 3.5% in 2018 and around the same figure in 2019. This compares with the best performance of attaining two out of the old order assessment, which are 10 criteria, and 2 out of the rationalized criteria under President Mahama. The 10 primary and secondary criteria, your best performance was to attain only 2. Today, we have attained 5 out of 6. And who are better managers of this economy? Mr. Speaker, it must be clear to all objective and neutral watchers that the management of the economy under Akufo-Addo is in capable hands, and indeed it was until the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic struck. The regular well-structured work program got choked by the virus. The government had to review the plan of action that fashioned to take the country to the next level of accelerated economic development, which the minister had themed consolidating the gains for growth, jobs, and prosperity for all. For in sharp contrast to the NDC regime under President Mahama, under Akufo-Addo, the economy was steadily growing. Industry had started revving up again. Ghana and Ghanaians were clearly on the road to prosperity. The Speaker, the effect of the pandemic proved an extremely devastating on the people of the world, businesses and world economy, with 2.2 billion jobs, representing close to 70% of global workforce under threat. As the Minister of Finance informed, the pandemic is more than a health crisis. Restrictions were imposed on the movement of people to contain the spread. These restrictions disrupted households and businesses with very many job losses and reduced incomes for many people, especially those in private and informal sectors. Hotels and the hospitality industry are literally on their knees. The Speaker, Kempinski, for now the flagship hotel in the country, they used to employ 360 people in the heat of the coronavirus. 300 out of the 360 workforce have been sent home. Trade and industry, agriculture, health, creative arts, the media, transportation, manufacturing, education, faith-based organization, financial services are all wilted. Social and cultural activities have not been spared. To protect lives and preserve livelihoods from the pulverizing effects of the disease, the President counted to release of the equivalent million United States dollars preparedness plan, which, to address our health vulnerabilities, now includes construction and equipping of 111 hospitals. Undoubtedly, the devastation of the pandemic would bruise and batter our economy and dislocate socio-economic. It is the reason why the minister has come and in a very forthright manner shown the country where the tumble has taken us from the heights we had achieved. The Speaker, total revenue and grants for January to June 2020 amounted to 22 billion, compared to the target of 29.75 billion, a shortfall of 7.752 billion. I refer to paragraph 104, page 21 of the mid-year review. The Speaker, that is only for 6 months. The total expenditure for the period amounted to only 46.352 billion against the projection of 41.55 billion. There is 4.78 billion. This, plus the shortfall in the revenue, puts the gap between the revenue and expenditure at 12.55 billion between January and June 2020. Mr. Speaker, these are the stark realities. Additional expenditures shall have been made between July and December 2020. And further shortfalls in revenue would register between July and December 2020. Mr. Speaker, why the minister has submitted a request for a supplementary budget of 11.896477 billion, which would be required to keep our heads above the water level. Mr. Speaker, it is indeed true that expenditures have shot our public debt stock to 258.372 billion. The minority leader even quoted 256. Really, it's 258.372 billion, representing in current exchange rate of 45.566 billion. That is 67% of the, which increase is mainly at the instance of the Eurobond issuance in February 2020, front-loading of the COVID-19 effects, exchange rate depreciation. Whilst Parliament must watch the radar of the minority leader, that we must watch the radar of expenditure to ensure that as a country we have value for money. That indeed is the work of Parliament. It is unfortunate and simplistic, however, to suggest that this government has borrowed more monies than any government. The Speaker, that cannot. In 2018, when the NPP hesitated, the public debt stock was 9.6 billion. Mr. Speaker, or if you like, 9.7 billion. Mr. Speaker, the rate of exchange at the time was $1 to 1.2 Ghana cedis. That means that the debt stock in US dollars was $8 billion at the point of exit of the NPP in 2008. In 2012, the debt stock climbed up to 36 billion. That meant that the debt had increased by 26.3 billion cedis. The Speaker, let's even use the end-year exchange rate of $1 to 1.87. It meant that the increase in dollar terms was 14 billion under President Mills. Dollars. In 2016, the debt stock climbed up to 122 billion. That meant that the debt had increased by 86 billion. That is between 2012 and 2016. The end-year exchange rate was $1 to 4.20 or 4.18. That meant that the increase in dollar terms was $21 billion. And that meant that the Mills Mahama government added at least 35 billion United States dollars to our debt stock. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, as of yet, the debt has increased to 258, as I've said. The increase is 136 billion. The rate of exchange is 5.67, which would give the equivalent of 24 billion. What is more important, Mr. Speaker, is for us to measure the debt against the GDP. Mr. Speaker, in 2008, between 2008 and 2016, the increase in debt is 75.8%. 75.8%. The Speaker, between 2016 and June, because the year hasn't yet ended, admittedly, 18%. Who are better managers of this economy? Mr. Speaker, we must speak to data and facts. Mr. Speaker, as the minister said to us last Thursday, we should all, as patriotic Ghanaians, recognize that the task ahead is great, and I'm quoting him. So we need courage. The courage to dream, believe, the courage to work and achieve. Unquote. We can achieve a lot if we determine to work in clear conscience and country. Let us be together in these difficult moments to give hope to our people. For sure, Mr. Speaker, as members of Parliament, we must criticize. And we must criticize to reform, to destroy. We must criticize from an informed perspective, with facts and figures, and not deliberate misrepresentations yesterday and misunderstanding of facts. Mr. Speaker, the facts will bear us out, but at this stage in our national life, we need to bond together to revive the economy, Mr. Speaker, to give hope to Ghanaians so that they will not, even though the circumstances are tough, and that we are amidst a storm that has not abated yet. Let us, for God and country, do what is right for Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity.
That brings us to the debate. Or the Minister of Finance wanted to make a comment. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Our God reigns. Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to express my appreciation for the comments and opinions expressed by this August House on the media review of the 2020 budget and the supplementary estimate. Right Honorable Speaker, members of the House, I thank you for the opportunity to make a few concluding comments on the debate on the media of the 2020 budget and the supplementary estimate. But I'd like to begin quoting the Majority Leader. The storm of this pandemic has not abated yet. So that is the environment we are in. Mr. Speaker, evidence abound that we were on track to transform the economy in line of His Excellency's program and vision of a Ghana beyond aid. There's no gainsaying all our flagship programs and initiatives have significantly affected positively the lives of the people of Ghana. Over the past 3.5 years, we created a platform for real economic growth, transformation, strengthening human capital through enhancing access to health care, education and skills development, agriculture and industry, delivering structure across the country, including a revitalized railway subsector and creating jobs. Right Honorable Speaker, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has unleashed severe economic hardships on several economies spared. Had it not economic measures put in place by this government, the effects would have been far worse than we are witnessing today. Mr. Speaker, most people shudder to think where we would have been if my fellow Ghanaians was not heard in our bedrooms every other day. Mr. Speaker, permit me now to respond to some of the issues that were raised. It is truly unfortunate that an attempt be made to politicize the issue of providing food for our brothers and sisters in need during the lockdown period. It is also unfortunate that the impression has been created that the total amount of 50 million Ghana cedis was used for only hot meals over these 3 weeks of a period. Mr. Speaker, permit me to provide some clarification on the issue. We estimated we need an amount of approximately 40 million to provide hot meals to the vulnerable at 5 cedis a pack during the lockdown period. However, out of this estimated amount, we spent some 12 million on hot meals, including the cost of distribution. Mr. Speaker, government budgeted 40.3 million for basic and cooked items. We spent 42.2 million. It is this 12 million spent on hot meals with the 42 million spent on uncooked food items gave the total of 54 million as stated in the media review. Mr. Speaker, the 12.1 million for hot meals fed over 150,000 people during the lockdown, including the cost of transportation and other operational costs. Mr. Speaker, our program to support small businesses is very much on course. Today we have 80,000 people who have benefited from them. Mr. Speaker, it's also important to note that we have spent in excess of 18.6 billion, including over 5 billion in the first half of 2020 alone. On the financial bill, Mr. Speaker, I was looking to respectfully respond to the issues that you asked. Mr. Speaker, please allow me to restate what the 11.8 billion supplementary estimate, which includes an amount of 1.84 billion that Parliament approved in March 2020 for emergency COVID-related expenditures requested for. 1.34 billion for the implementation of COVID-19 Preparedness Plan 1 and 2 to be implemented by the Ministry of Health. The Plan 2 will focus on expanding laboratories to increase of functional laboratories for COVID-19 for improved database management and coordination, creating isolation centers in all regions and districts, revitalizing systems for tracking case confirmation and case management. Others, 600 million to mobilize for the construction of the Agenda 111 district hospitals, 1.20 million for CAP 1 program, which includes the 600 million support for small businesses, relief for water that's 3 months, support for frontline workers, etc. Mr. Speaker, let me affirm the commitment of the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to make the well-being of Ghanaians in all our economic transformation agenda paramount. This has been clearly stated in the past 3.5 years, and especially during the difficult COVID period. Over the past years, we sent some 12 million teenagers to 1.2 million teenagers to senior high school. We fed over 3 million under the school feeding program. We provided almost 100,000 graduates of employment and livelihoods. We have 64,000 Ghanaians with support under the COVID. We have supported 1.2 million farmers with seeds, fertilizers, and other inputs. We provided every constituency with an ambulance, provided free electricity for million Lifeline customers, and we have supported 97,000 Ghanaians with small loans and block. We have provided over 142 trainees of allowances for their subsistence. We provided about 150,000 nurse trainees with monthly allowances. Under the LEAP program, we supported over 1.4 million individuals. We have paid, Mr. Speaker, 96% depositors' funds in the financial restructuring. We have served over 1.8 million people during the lockdown period, free water for everyone. Mr. Speaker, not only have we managed the macroeconomics, but this is a government that's for the ordinary people, a government that cares, a government that ensures that everybody is citizen, part of the prosperity that we are seeing. Mr. Speaker, going forward, we all have to sacrifice and burden share. That's revenue mobilization supported by a digitalized economy would ensure that our current 13% revenue to GDP would increase to 20% revenue to GDP. This will enable government to raise the 30 billion cedis to support the Ghana 100 billion Ghana Cares Overtime program. In addition, the much vexed areas of property taxes and tax exemption will be fast-tracked to support our 30 billion cedi raise. Mr. Speaker, we really would like to thank this House for the support that we have gotten. And Mr. Speaker, Labour is now very committed to the program, and the minority leader knows that he had vexed issues of supplying unemployment insurance, and I'd like to tell him that we'll do it for him. Mr. Speaker, let me thank this House and for the support we have gotten over this period, and let me assure you, Speaker, that as long as our God reigns and the battle is the Lord's, we shall bring Ghana to where it rightfully is to be. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, we now conclude the debate. To approve the mid-year review budget statement and economic policy of Government of Ghana and the sum of Ghana cedis 11,896,477,566 as supplementary estimates for the government. Now, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All against, say no. No. The ayes have it. The House has accordingly approved a sum of 11,896,476,566 Ghana cedis as supplementary estimates of government for the 2020 financial year. Very well. Honourable members, we will suspend sitting and resume at 3 p.m. So the House is accordingly suspended until 3 p.m.
Speaker, I believe we can attend to item listed as 37. 37.
Very well. Item 37. Aircraft Accident Investigation and Prevention Bureau Bill 2020 at the consideration stage. Yes, we're on clause 34. Chairman, we're on clause 34.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Item 4, amendment proposed. Subclause 2, delete. I so move.
Honourable members, all in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Now, clause 34 as amended shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 34 started to stand part of the bill. Clause 35. Clause 35.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honourable member, hold on. They will read it out.
Expenses of the Bureau.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, clause 35, amendment proposed. Add the following new subclause as advertised. I so move.
Yes, Chairman. Members want you to hear you read. It's more than 4.
Honorable Speaker, let me read it. 2. The administrative other expenses shall not exceed A, the amount approved under paragraph A of section 33, and B, 40% of the amount specified in paragraph of section 33. I so move.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Yes, Speaker, just to understand why my colleague wants to limit, because aircraft accident, I see a borrowing. If you go to GET Fund, you go to NHI, this particular provision of administrative expenses is there. But you are dealing with a purely technical, complex and complicated matter that we should not be limiting their hands in terms of money and how am I doing. Unless that's not the understanding I'm getting.
Yes, Honorable Member for Hours.
Mr. Speaker, if you look at 33 referred to, you have monies approved by Parliament. Then D, money, 1.5% of airport tax. These are the A and B that have been referred to. And so if you look at the amendment that's being proposed, it is the administrative other expenses shall not exceed the amount approved under paragraph A, which is the, so.
I'm fine.
But my problem with the other expenses that expenses wanted to reserve a certain amount for an incident investigation. But when you say administrative and other, will accident and incident not be could be interpreted to mean other expenses?
Honorable Speaker, the impression here is that the expenses are the administrative expenses, expenses for investigative accident and incident investigation, and other expenses. So when we say other expenses, it is the administrative expenses and other expenses other than accident and incident investigation expenses.
Have you defined other expenses? Otherwise, if you don't define other expenses to exclude administrative, accident and incident expenses, you run into a problem. Yes, honourable member for the clue.
Right, Honourable Speaker. I think administrative expenses could include running salaries and other things, but they are an entity on the, by themselves. Vehicles, maintenance, even buying of equipment, training, maybe other expenses. But I agree with you. Should we define other expenses so that we don't leave it open for any other thing? But, Chairman, I think, can we define other expenses? Or it's not necessary? Okay. I think Leader wants to help.
Yes, Honourable Leader.
I want to further amend my proposal amendment, and then add that is 2:35(2). The administrative and other related shall not exceed. So related expenses will show the difference between that and expenses for accident and incident investigation. I assume.
Very well. Honourable members, for the consideration of the House. All of the proposed amendments say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Now, clause 35 as amended. The stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 35 as amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 40.
Interpretation.
Amendment proposed. Chairman.
Clause 40. Amendment proposed. Interpretation of aerodrome operator. Lines 1 and 2 delete. Or as defined in ACAO Annex 13. I so move.
Yes, all in favor of the proposal and say aye.
Page 31.
Bro, I'm well.
Should I put the question again? Yes, Honourable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I just turned to ask the chairman of the committee if the ACAO and the 13 does not bear it, because here it says, aerodrome operator means the person by whom the aerodrome is managed, or as defined in ACAO and 13. If it's not defined in ACAO and 13, then we can delete it. But if it is, then we may have to allow it. That's why I was asking him whether it doesn't find expression in the under 13 of ACAO.
Yes, Honorable.
Honorable Speaker, at the definition, there's a definition for aerodrome operator. If we define it, that's the way it is originally defined in the bill. Aerodrome operator means a person by whom the aerodrome is managed, or as defined in ACAO Annex 13. Mr. Speaker, if you go to ACAO Annex 13, there's no definition for aerodrome operator. So we want to delete all as defined in ACAO Annex 13. And then,
So your point is well made. All in favor of the proposed amendment, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Item IV.
Clause 40, Honorable Speaker, amendment proposed. Interpretation of authorized person, paragraph A and 2, at the end, add or
Is the or after the semicolon or a person or by the Bureau generally to specifically, or specifically to have access to an aircraft involved in an accident or incident, or so is the or after the semicolon or
Honorable Speaker, my next amendment is Honorable Speaker, I withdraw the amendment.
yes, amendment withdrawn. Item V. V as in
Clause 40, amendment proposed. Interpretation of authorized person, paragraph C and E, delete. I so move. The Speaker trying to define authorized person, and then we made an amendment to change officer to a person. So when you say authorized person, A person authorized by the Bureau generally or specifically to have access to an aircraft involved in an accident or incident. B, an investigator of the Bureau authorized by the Commissioner. Then you come to C and D. We have a police officer authorized by the Inspector General or police, and then a custom officer. The Speaker, there's no need for, since the officer had been amended to a person in the bill.
Yes, Honorable Member for hours.
Mr. Speaker, those people, they are not acting just because they are custom officers or
Authorized
police officers. They must be authorized by the IGP or the Director General of the
Immigration
as officers designated for that purpose. And so that is why they are to be authorized by the IGP and the Director General of the Revenue. Because Otherwise, any police officer by a certain rank can undertake an activity. But in this particular case, you must specify that he was authorized appropriate person.
But anyway, let me listen to Agbeja first.
Right Honorable Speaker, if you look at A and B, those individuals are authorized by people within the Bureau. C and D reads as if when there's an accident, the Inspector General of Police or Ghana Revenue Authority could just direct somebody to go and do that. So whilst I agree with Chairman, maybe we need to polish it up to show that, yes, in fact, if you ask a police officer to go there, he must seek authority from the IGP to go there. But the IGP can only act that way on what the Bureau would request. So I think we need to polish up C and D, but we can't delete them. They should be there. We should just clean them up.
But if an investigator is an investigator of the Bureau authorized by the Commissioner, if a police officer is authorized by the Commissioner, it comes to the same thing. If a customer is authorized by the Commissioner, it comes to the same thing. So you don't need the two, because that would appear, the two would appear to intrude into the independent investigative powers of the Bureau. Yes.
I agree with you completely, and also agree with the reason the Minister is asking us to take off C and D. The authorization needn't be coming from the Inspector General or the Customs Officer. Indeed, it can come through them, but by authority from the Commissioner. And that is why C and D aren't. And the reason why we should go back to the first order was abandoned. The definition of it should either be A or B. Yes, says. So when we delete C and D, then you have the two, the A and then B. So if we revert to the original,
we didn't delete them.
The original amendment of adding all, it now makes sense because the reason for adding the all was the deletion of C and D.
Yes, number 4 hours.
That's because then the order in which this amendment was moved is the problem. Because he straight was saying we should delete, we should add all.
So we should have deleted C and D.
Yes, but we should have moved this one he's talking about.
That's right.
Which would have eliminated C and D.
Yeah.
So they would now be left with two paragraphs, in which case the all would then come after A.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the intention was, I knew when we come to the next amendment, the all will be needed. So I dropped the first amendment to reintroduce it after this amendment is done, so that members will understand the need for the all. So I dropped it
Very
with
well,
the intention
okay.
that
We understand now.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So we are deleting ND and introducing all after A. Yes, Honorable Majority.
Speaker, I was conferring with the table officers a few moments ago in respect of one of the recent bills that the narcotics. We defined an authorized officer. In that, I don't remember exactly what we did. Speaker, here in Parliament, we have police officers who come here to the extent that they are not authorized by the Speaker to perform any task. You know, as authorized officers of this House. You're not. Indeed, that is why our orders provide. Officer means the clerk or any person acting within the presence of Parliament under the order of Mr. Speaker, and includes any police officer. In fact, in In the review, we have police and inserted security, since fire service and other people also are here. So even when they are here, to the extent that they don't take instructions from the speaker, they may not authorize officers of this house. That's why I have a bit of a challenge. And I was asking them exactly the language we employed, crafting the Narcotics Control Bill Commission bill that we did. We define authorized officer in a peculiar way. If we can look at that, I think it will be most helpful to us.
I don't know. I think we are practically adding them, unless you're talking about language. The authorized person is a person who ought to be authorized by the commissioner, whether you're a police officer or what. I think that's all. So I'll put the question. All in favor of the amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. All right. So clause 40, as variously amended, shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 40, as variously amended, is ordered to stand part of the bill. The long title.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Hold on. I haven't seen 41. Is there? Oh, very well. Clause 41.
Repeal and savings.
There's no advertised amendment to clause 41. All in, yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as you may recall, I just want to satisfy myself because there was a particular amendment and we needed to be certain that the Ghana Civil Aviation Act of 2004, that particular clause will be repealed. And we carried it on the assumption that we will specifically deal with it when we come to repeal and savings.
No, I directed the draft persons to use the appropriate drafting language, yes. There's no advertised amendment to clause 41. So as many as are in favor of clause 41 being a part of the bill, say aye. All against that say no. The ayes have it. Clause 41 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 42.
Provisions.
Clause 42 shall stand part of the bill. All in say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 42 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, the long title.
An act to establish the Accident Investigation and Prevention Bureau to investigate, prevent, regulate, and oversee the management of accidents and incidents that occur in the country and to provide for related purposes.
Amendment proposed. Chairman. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, yesterday,
yes,
I raised the matter of clause 25 and 26 in the sense that we actually varied the numbers for the penalty units because we're trying to put in sync with the RTI. But we saw that with the implications of the aviation sector, the cost could be quite high. So therefore, we want to go back and retain what we actually proposed in the bill. And you told us to raise it. If we can do it with the table of office reconciling it, I think I won't have a problem with that. So we want to retain the figures that we put in, 25, 3, and then 26, 2. As opposed to taking them off yesterday and change the numbers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You mean the the sentencing regime, we changed not less than 2,500 penalties to 1,000 penalty units. But you want to restore that.
Right, Mr. Speaker.
And we changed 5,000 penalty units to 1,000 penalty units, and 2 years to 1 year, 5 years to 2 years. We want all restored. Very well. Honourable members, for the consideration of the House. All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against that say no. The ayes have it. Amendment is carried. The same is made of clause 26, is that right? All in favor of restoring the original sentencing regime say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Amendment is carried. Now, clause 26, clause 25 shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 25 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 26 shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 26 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, the long title. Chairman, you may move your amendment to the long title.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Amendment proposed. Line 1, before insert aircraft. And in line 2, delete country and insert Ghana. And further in line 3, delete purposes and insert matters. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to further amend my amendment to put an act to establish the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau to investigate, prevent, regulate, and oversee management of accidents and incidents that occur in Ghana and to provide for related matters. I so move.
All in favor of those amendments? Yes, Honourable Member for Kano.
No, I equally see accidents, if you look at line 2, and oversee the management of perhaps aircraft accidents and incidents. So we need to insert aircraft here on line 2 after off.
Why is it not necessary? An act to establish the Aircraft Investigation and Prevention Bureau to investigate incidents. But I think aircraft is important. Yes, Honourable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, it's just for the awareness of doubt. It's just for the avoidance of doubt that we repeat it. Yes. That is in line 2.
All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Amendment is carried. Now the long title as amended. Third part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The long title as amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. That brings us to the end of consideration of the Aircraft Accident Investigation and Prevention Bureau, Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau Act. Yes, Honorable Majority Leader.
Speaker, we could commence the consideration of the registration of birth and birth bill 2020. 38, item 38.
Honorable available leader, it's suggested that we begin the consideration of the registration of the Death Bill 2020.
Speaker, we have no objection to that, but it would have been better for us to go and do more winnowing at all, so that we can speed up the process.
Yes, what's the consensus?
Speaker, unfortunately, yesterday I was preoccupied with certain activities, so I couldn't be with them, the winnowing committee. But I understand they started work on it and got to about clause 12. So let's see what we can do. And if you're able to get there, we could take a break and go to continue the winnowing. So, and then what to finish, so we could conclude tomorrow.
Very well. The House is therefore adjourned to tomorrow, Thursday, the 30th. Is that what you said?
Yes, that is what I said, that we should begin. Well, I said, for emphasis, I said we should, because my understanding is that yesterday they started and got to clause 12. So let's see where we can get to, and then urge the committee to go and continue the meeting.
I'll do the consideration for another 30, but at 5 o'clock I'll close. Wherever we can get to at 5 o'clock. Yeah. Item 38, registration of birth and deaths bill 2020, other consideration stage. Clause 1.
Establishment of births and deaths registry.
Item I, amendment proposed. Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, clause 1. Amendment proposed. Subclause 2, paragraph A. At end, delete Accra. I so move.
All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. Aye. All against say no. The aye amendment is carried. Item I. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, clause 1. Amendment proposed, subclause 2. Add the following new paragraph. D. Sub-district offices in each district. I so move.
All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. If I don't hear the votes, I will not pronounce it. All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment carried. Item III.
Mr. Speaker, clause 1 proposed. Subclause 3. Delete and insert the following. 3. The National of the Registry, A, shall exercise oversight responsibility for the registration of each birth and death in the country, and B, is responsible for the collection of the registers of births and deaths in the country. I so move.
What do we mean? No, we want to achieve.
Mr. Speaker, by this clause, we are indicating actions of the national office, what they seek to do. And we have just broken it down, indicating what they are supposed to do in terms of registration of each birth and death. And then the second part is looking at collection and collection of data. And that is how we've broken down into 2.
Okay. Collection and collation of the registers from the various districts. Okay. I thought we want to re-centralize that. Very well. All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Item IV. Yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the 3, they provide for the National Office of the Registry to have or exercise oversight responsibility for the registration of births and deaths in the country. Now, I don't really see the terms of the each. So it should be registration of birth and death in the country. If you said the each in A, then when you come to B, you should introduce the same thing. So that it should be responsible for the collection and collation and death in the country. You do it like that. You don't have the symmetry. So if you want to introduce each, then it should affect D as well. I drop the each in A.
Okay, but B is the registers, and C is the process, oversight, responsibility. But the each, yes, I agree with you that we should drop the each. So the draft persons are directed to delete the each from 3, the proposed 3A. Now IV.
Mr. Speaker, clause 1, amendment proposed, subclause 4, line 2, delete office of the registry and insert the office. I so move.
Yes. In favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Now, clause 1 as variously amended shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 1 as variously amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 2.
Appointments of Registrar of Births and Deaths.
Amendment proposed. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, clause 2, amendment proposed, delete and insert the following. Appointment of Registrar of Births and Deaths. 2. 1. The registry shall have a Registrar of Births and Deaths. 2. The President shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoint the 3. The President shall, in appointing a person as the registrar, have regard to the relevant academic qualification, experience, and knowledge of that person in civil registration. 4. The registrar shall hold office on the terms and conditions specified in the letter of appointment. I so move.
Yes, members, for the consideration of the House. All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Item VI, new clause.
Mr. Speaker, new clause, amendment proposed as advertised. I so move.
All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Clause 2, as variously amended, shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. Indeed, what the functions of the registrar was clause 3, right? So I should move the clause 2 and come to clause 3. So clause 2, as amended, shall stand the bill. Now, clause 3 is moved as advertised, right? Very well. There's a new clause proposed under that one too. So you item VII, may please move that.
Mr. Speaker, new clause, amendment proposed as advertised. I so move.
That is advertised as clause 4.
That's under clause 4. Mr. Speaker.
How are you going to put, because there's already a clause 4.
Mr. Speaker, this is the appointment of the Deputy Registrar.
All right, so it is not clause 4. It is a proposed new clause. The draft persons will arrange it as. Yes. Yes,
Mr. Speaker, yesterday we advised that they shouldn't be numbering the clauses. Otherwise, they will confuse that are already in the bill. Yeah. They should just say new clause, but the way it is following will be known by the draft persons. So this one is a new clause. It is not 4, because there's still 4 we should consider.
And indeed, when you look at it, it goes from 5 and comes back to 4. So they are just new clause, right? So all in favor of the proposed new clause say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed new clause is ordered to stand part of the bill. Item VIII.
Mr. Speaker, new clause, amendment proposed. Add the following new clause. Functions of the Deputy Registrar. The Deputy Registrar shall assist the Registrar in the performance of the functions of the Registrar. I so move.
All in favor of the proposed new clause say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. the proposed new clause is ordered to stand part of the bill. Item IF.
Mr. Speaker, clause 4, amendment proposed, sub-clause 2, paragraph 8.
Please hold on. The IX is clause. It is not, but it is here clause. Very well, clause 3.
Appointment of other staff.
So there's no advertised amendment to clause. All in favor of clause 3, standing a part of the bill, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. Clause 3 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 4.
Regional Registrar.
Amendment proposed. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, clause 4, amendment proposed, sub-clause 2, paragraph A. Before collating, insert collecting. And I so move.
All in favor of the proposed amendment, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Now, clause 4 as amended shall stand part of the bill. All in favor, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. Clause 4 as amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 5.
District Registrar.
Amendment proposed. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, clause 5, amendment proposed, sub-clause 1, and insert the following. 1. Each district office of the registry, A, is a decentralized department of the district assembly, and B, shall have a district registrar. I so move.
The each, we don't like it. So it could be a district office of the registry. Yes, leader.
I'm just going over a few omissions, but maybe we can deal with them later. Because we have a standard rendition of these things when we have, in some bills we have proper. And as you saw yesterday, we had sound. But in all those ones, we have effective and efficient. Here we have effective performance. I thought we should have amended them. And maybe we can leave that to the drafters, because we have the template for that.
I'm wondering whether the 5.1a, the 5.1, whether we want each district office of the registry. Yes, Honorable Member for Asante Achim Central.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, that's still where your directive is going, but we may be tempted to draft in plural to make it sound right that all district offices of the registry are decentralized. But these days, the draft person would want us to draft in singular. That's why we cannot depart from the way it is couched.
Yeah, but I'm saying we will just use the district office rather than each district office.
Yes.
Very well. So the proposed amendment is to read. Yes, Honorable Member for.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to propose a further amendment with regards to the decentralized department. In the Act 462, the departments of the Assembly are no longer decentralized departments. They are known as departments of the Assembly. And so I don't think we need to qualify this. The Local Governance Act. The Lizard Act. Yes. So what I'm saying is that the departments of the Assembly are no longer decentralized departments, they are departments of the Assembly. Yes.
It's as a department of the Assembly.
The latest. Yeah, yes.
And I want to be clear on this. Are we setting this up as a department of the Assembly? Yes, Honorable Yeleche.
I think he's right in saying that we should remove the center and say Department of the Assembly.
Yes. All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Item XI. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, Clause 5, proposed. Subclause 3, line 2, delete the District Assembly and I so move.
Yes. All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Item II.
Mr. Speaker, amendment proposed as advertised. I so move.
Yes. All in favor of the proposed new subclause say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Subclause is adopted. Now, clause 5, as variously amended, shall start of the bill. Yes, Honorable Asante Achim Central.
Mr. Speaker, except to say that the new subclauses that we're talking about are reach the quarterly reports. The district shall be responsible for the collection and collation of the register from the sub-districts. And I haven't read any provision made for the sub-district yet. I stand to be corrected.
Before you entered, we had added sub-district. All clause 5 as variously amended shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause as variously amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 6.
Registration officer.
Amendment proposed. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, amendment proposed subclause 2, delete and insert the following. A registration officer shall collect and collate information on births, fetal deaths, and deaths in a zone within a district. I so move.
As many as are in favor of the proposed amendment. Yes, Honorable Member for Ho Central.
Mr. Speaker, in new clause, in XII, where we inserted the clause from the sub-districts, and here quickly we have zone. I think we should align the two. If we are using zone, let's stick to using sub-district, let's stick to that. Thank you.
Yes. Listen to the lady first. I haven't heard a lady's voice in a long while. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I think they are called area councils or zones. So the zonal council or the area council, so the previous one that is here about the sub-district, I think it will with what is in. What should it be? It should be, this one is correct, the zonal or town and area councils. Even those sub-districts we are used to, the zonal one is wrong.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the sub-district will cover the area councils and zonal councils, everything. So sub-district is broader than the zone. So we agreed to really change the zone here to make it.
Yes, Honorable Makango.
Speaker, the word
zone is now
A registration officer shall collect and collate information on deaths, fetal deaths, and deaths in a zone within the district. You're changing the sub-district.
Sub-district, yes, sub-district.
Very well. Yes, Mr.
Speaker, my problem with the present amendment in respect of fetal deaths. Mr. Speaker, in law, death is death. Wait. So my difficulty is that we seek to distinguish death record from death of fetus. Is that the intention of the House? Because it is not, it doesn't purpose, Mr. Speaker. Because
yes, what's your problem?
My problem is that there's no need for fetal deaths.
But they happen. Even if there's no need for them, they happen.
But, Mr. Speaker, that is death.
Death of who?
Of the baby.
Okay, because if a person were actually born, he would, so there will be record of this person dying. But when he dies as a fetus,
yes,
then it did not become a human being, but it should be registered as something that happened.
Mr. Speaker, that's a human being.
I see. So you give that human being a name to be recorded.
Mr. Speaker, the fact that you don't have a name doesn't mean you are not a human being.
Yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the death in the interpretation column, death as regular death is defined, and fetal death is also defined differently. So the distinction is made. My little worry, though, is where we're introducing the registration exercise. Because, Speaker, whereas we are providing the first time the acquisition officer shall register the deaths, fetal deaths, and deaths in the areas composing the urban zone or town and area councils. When we compile the register, to the extent that we've made this distinction, the register then should also contain the fetus. But the register doesn't. Where we've gone through, in respect of two, three, where we used to have the register of births, deaths, and fetal deaths. I think they deleted the fetal deaths. Fetal deaths. Death. The Speaker, I see it in clause 6. But I'm saying that if we are registering them, then the register should have them. When we came to the appointment of registrar of births and deaths, I think they deleted the fetal deaths.
Yes, we're only registering births, except that in case of death, there are two categories. That's all there is. All right. No looking through, but I have not heard your voice.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I think
item number XV can even help us on clause 8. They are proposing amendment that the registrar shall keep and maintain 3 national registers, namely the National Register of Birth, which shall record birth. Then the B, National Register of Fatal Deaths, which shall record each fatal death. We have National Register for death. So in view of the fact that the register is being mandated by the law to keep 3 sets of registers, the use of fatal death here is correct.
We can amend that section too. Yes, Honorable Agboja.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, many countries do record something they call fetal death. But arguably, some try to classify them in terms of the period within the gestation of the pregnancy. What I think we are trying to do is to capture death which did not, pregnancy which did not result in life death. We all know that as stillbirth, that is, it doesn't matter which period within the gestation it happens. So that is why people are having a fetal death, because indeed, if you read about fetal death, even people go as far as the weight at the time it passes on. So why don't we use stillbirth, which is any period within before or any death that didn't result into life death, so that everybody is, unless you are going to go ahead and classify them. So stillbirth is not bad, it's known, but maybe the minister says no, so maybe there's a different classification.
Mr. Speaker, the correct expression is fetal death, and it's not a new thing. As far back as 1965, the old Act 301, is in there. If I can read section 2. They shall be maintained in the central office registers of all births, fetal deaths, and deaths occurring in the state. That's what we've maintained all along. And that's the technical expression.
That's technically not popular. If you ask anyone, they will say that is stillbirth.
It's across the Commonwealth. It's not only restricted to Ghana.
Yes, Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the issue then strengthens what issue that I've brought up. Now, you would see that in the amendment proposed, the functions of the registrar, it says the registrar shall keep and maintain the national registers specified in Section 8. Now, Section 8 then relates to the 3 national, namely National Register of Deaths, National Register of Fetal Deaths, and C, National Register of Deaths, which are recorded. So these are the Speaker. So when you come to 2, which provides that the registry shall have 3 of births and deaths, then we should also make the distinction. That's the point I'm making. Because in that case, you can't put the 2 together. Because there's a distinction between births and fetal deaths. And there are different registers for them. The Speaker, you don't switch on, so when you talk, you don't. Okay.
That's the point I was, that a death of a fetus, death of a human being are all deaths. So the registrar is keeping a record of births and deaths. Right. Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that probably is the simplest thing. But indeed, the state needs to be sure that a child was to be born, a child did not survive, and it's recorded. Otherwise, people will still babies every day.
No, the issue is he wants the registrar to be called Registrar of Births, Fetal Deaths, and Death. That's the point of making.
No, that's what it is. Just births and death. So
and
the death is divided into fetal and the proper death.
Speaker, they are both, so that's all. Let's make progress. Yes,
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, in addition to that, the fetal death categorization is quite international and universal. And I'm sure we're just borrowing from the international convention to put it in there. Oh no, it's there.
It's the same thing. I'll put the question on. We amended the zone. We substituted sub-districts for zones. Is that right? All right. So now I'll put the question on clause 6. Yes, Chairman.
Mr. I want to propose a further amendment to the clause as advertised. The original missing. I want to propose that we have the new rendition being a registration officer shall register, collect, and collate.
Collect and register.
Yes. So collect. No.
How will it register involved?
Yes. The 6.2.
The 6th proposed new clause, which is introducing a place for the officer at the sub-district level. He is not keeping a register there. He's only collecting for register. All right. So I think it is. Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about a registration officer here.
Yes.
And original rendition had shall register. Mr. Speaker, if I may refer to page Roman number 3, the memorandum. The second paragraph says, clause 6 provides for the appointment of a registration officer by a district assembly in consultation of the registrar. A registration officer is responsible for registering deaths, fetal deaths, and deaths in areas in the urban. This is what we've amended to sub-district. So we should find a way of capturing registration there.
Yes, I remember for.
Thank you. The issue of the registrar and the registration officer, when the committee met, the original bill talks about a registration officer. But assign the work of the district registrar to that registration officer. So we said no. The district registrar is the one who will register or collate and do all the things. But the registration officer, that's why he has been pushed to the sub-district to collate these things. He is not the registrar. And we have registrars. The national registrar, who is the registrar, then the regional registrar and the district registrar. But below the district registrar are the registration and the other people who help in the registration process. So it was on the basis of this that this amendment was made.
So I'll put a question. All in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is carried. Now clause 6 as amended shall stand part of the bill. All in favor say aye. All against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 6 as amended is ready to stand part of the bill. Honorable Leader, I want to bring the curtains down here so we can continue tomorrow. Right.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
We wanted to do, which is done, which is good. And I'm hoping that tomorrow we could have a center sitting to finish with this. There are many bills in the party we need to deal with. I'm hoping that we should be able to finish this tomorrow, which means that the committee which met yesterday may have to recline to continue from where they left off.
Honorable Deputy Minister, the team says their morale is low, so on that note, yes.
Morale will be provided.
That brings us to the end of consideration of the registration of birth and death bill 20 for today. The House is accordingly adjourned Thursday, the 30th of July 2020 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon.